Back on the Patrick Netherton Show here on 1130 The Tiger, and very pleased as we continue our I have no idea. We gotta come up with a catchy title for this thing. It's basically a caravan on the phone lines. We're gonna get every Division I football coach from the state of Louisiana on, and a guy who I got to meet for the first time last year, and just what a great dude he is. Just a great guy, but also a heck of a football coach who took over the reins at Southeastern Louisiana. I've gotten to know his son a little bit at Northwestern State, so a lot of cool stuff going on. He is Frank Scelfo, the head coach of the Southeastern Louisiana Lions. Coach, what's going on, man?
Patrick, how you doing, man? I appreciate the introduction.
Yeah, man. Look, you're one of those guys that's really easy to like, and that's unfortunate sometimes when you're in the same conference because I want to hate the opposition. I'm out there at Northwestern State. I hate these guys, but you're too good a dude. I can't hate you, Coach. So I really am happy to have some time.
I appreciate your passion for Northwestern. We got fans like that too, and we hope our supporters hate everybody we play also. I'm fine with that. I understand the business. I wish you would tell my wife that I was too nice to hate. That would be awesome too. I appreciate that.
Unfortunately, Coach, I'm not getting in the middle of that one. I can tell you that. I'm too smart.
Blame you.
I'm too smart for all that. Coach, this is year 2 for you at Southeastern Louisiana as you worked in some new offensive schemes, new defensive schemes. We'll talk about the addition to your defensive coaching staff coming up here in just a sec, but give me some indication where you are now in year 2 as opposed to where you were now in year 1.
Yeah, I think we're a lot further along. Anytime you come into a new program, you want to instill a culture that you believe in. And so there was some change, and there was some turbulence, and there was some things that we had to go through, some growing pains to get us to where we want to be. And we're still, encountering some things like that, but we're moving in the right direction. I think our culture, we've unified our locker room a whole lot better. I think we've unified our coaching staff a whole lot better. I think we're in a position now where the staff and the players have expectations and realistic expectations as to who we are. And because of those things, you're able to do more things in the meeting room and then out on the practice field, which hopefully shows up on game day on Saturday.
So, not to put you in any specifics or anything like that, but what's involved in as you mentioned, unifying the locker room, changing the culture? Is it addition? Is it subtraction? Is it a little bit of both?
Yeah, I think it's everything. When you come in and change schemes offensively and defensively, sometimes there's players who have been waiting in the wings for 1, 2, 3 years and ready to jump in, and it's their turn to start. Well, when you bring in a new staff, it's a complete evaluation of everybody and the work ethic and not only athletic ability, but the effort and those things. Well, when you make a decision, and sometimes a sophomore starts over a senior, or a younger guy is doing better than a senior would be doing, or maybe because of the scheme, that position changes somewhat, and it doesn't quite fit the abilities of that player. So, you have those things do take place, and when they do take place, it creates some conflict. So, as a coaching staff, you got to work through that. You got to be honest and open. You got to talk to them as adults, which we all are. And people have to realize from a professional standpoint, decisions got to be made for the betterment of the program. It's not about me. It's about we. And by doing those things, we can move forward. And I think that's where we grew so much this past offseason. In the spring and summer was really coming together as a locker room. And I think that's what will play out on the field this fall.
Talking to Southeastern Louisiana head coach Frank Scelfo. So you have continuity on the offensive staff. You get your OC back from last year. But I think one of the most intriguing hires of the entire offseason in the league is Lance Guidry, who is now your defensive coordinator. He was the head coach at McNeese. And while he had plenty of success, he apparently didn't have McNeese success, which means you have to go to the playoffs every year. Even though he was well over 500 and had a lot of good teams, you're able to bring him in as defensive coordinator. I'm curious on his fit to start with, but also already him knowing the league the way he does, I would imagine his learning curve isn't the same.
Yeah, look at this. I don't think there's anybody that knows this league as well as Lance does. He played in it. He was a G8 in it. He was an assistant coach in it. He was a coordinator in it. He was a head coach in it. So most of his entire professional life, once he turned 18 years old and started playing college football, and then afterwards has been at McNeese and then the Southland Conference. So he's been able to, last year we traveled everywhere to half of the schools. Well, this year we're going to hit the other half. And he's been able to give me some insight when we visit these other places, kind of what to look for and what to see and what to expect, because he knows this league so well. So his insight as far as recruiting, even in the state of Louisiana, the teams that we're going to be playing, our schedule, his contacts around the country, things like that, have been valuable for us, in just a short period of time. And then adding Kerry Joseph, who is also from McNeese, and, he's from New Iberia, which is where I'm from, so that made that an easy choice for me. But, those two guys just bring a wealth of experience and knowledge to us about the conference.
Yeah, and that certainly helps. And I always think this is an odd phrase, but I think it's the most appropriate. The Southland is a very incestuous league in that coaches tend to go from one school to the other. And so to me, it seems like there's no secrets in this league, Coach. It seems like a league where, you've coached with someone, or in your case, you're related to someone on one of the other conference teams. It seems like there just really aren't secrets in this league.
I don't think there's too many. I think what I was led to believe that this league was more top-heavy when I got into it last season, and I've come to find out that this league is very balanced from top to bottom. It's hard-pressed. I'd be hard-pressed to find another league at this level that can boast about teams that a year before they were 1-2-win teams, and then next year they're in the playoffs, or, they're 3 or 4-win teams, and then next year they're in the playoffs. There's some turnaround that's taken place in this league that's kind of turned it upside down from the guys who normally that you would expect to be conference champions or runners-up that are not even in the playoffs or even in the top 3 or 4 teams in the league. So, your hats off to people like Nichols and UIW and Lamar for representing us in the playoffs last year, but also be leery of everybody else in the conference because this whole thing could turn around again in a heartbeat.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable how it works. I think it's as wide open as the league's ever been. Interestingly, I think this is we know that positions kind of work in cycles, and there were a lot of question marks at quarterback last year at a lot of places. This year, it seems like everybody's got a returner. Everyone's got a solidified quarterback. Nichols has the returning player of the year. UIW has the freshman of the year. You got UCA's got a guy coming back off injury. Sam's got a youngster that they played a lot last year. Northwestern has a transfer they played a lot last year. And you've got a guy in Chase and Virgil who had a heck of a lot of experience and had some really good numbers last year. What is that like when you look around the league and especially in your own backyard there in Hammond and see that everybody seems to have an experienced signal caller ready to go?
Well, that's what we talked about, and I said it at Media Day. We can win the conference and go undefeated. We know we can do that. We can also lose every game in the conference because these teams that have the quarterback, what you're going to see is the continuity on offense. There's going to really be a lot of pressure on teams week in and week out to play good defense and be effective defensively. I think the turnover battle this year is going to be probably going to be the one thing that's going to be highlighted across the board because you can't give teams an extra at-bat in this league from a series standpoint because of the quarterback play. I just think it's too good, too consistent. The offenses are very explosive. You look across the league, and like you said, you named some, but you look out at Abilene Christian and Houston Baptist and Lamar. All of those guys now have their quarterbacks back, and they were all at Media Day, and they're impressive individuals. I talked to all of them, spent some time with them, getting to know them, and realized that everybody's got their work cut out for them each week based on the quarterback play of the opponent.
Talking to Frank Scelfo, head coach at Southeastern Louisiana. All right, Coach, give me let's talk about your team. Obviously, Virgil's a big name. You've got a returning offense that is very good. We mentioned your continuity with Stevens as your OC. Tell me about this Southeastern Louisiana Lions program, and for those of us that are on the outside looking in, who do we need to be looking for, and who do you think are going to be the guys that step up this year?
Yeah, I think offensively for us, Jason's taken on a leadership role. He got here with me last year in January, and he was part of the changeover and tried to insert himself from a cultural standpoint in a leadership position. But I think he really grabbed the reins of this whole process in January. And watching him grow and how he's able to impact and influence others, he's going to be a big part of what we're doing, not only on the field but in the locker room and off the field. So, you feel really good about that spot. And then I think our offensive line, although not deep, I think we're pretty good up front. We got to stay injury-free, and I think that's probably going to apply to everybody in the conference, the lack of depth. But us up front, being able to run the football, being more physical, I think we made some strides there in the spring and so far this camp is being a more physical football team. I really like our running back position. I think Devontae Williams, Marcus Cooper did not. He had a really good freshman year the year before I got here. Had knee surgery, did not play last year, and looks like he's coming back into his old form, from an explosiveness standpoint. And then Teron Johnson will be our third guy. So we think we got three quality guys, plus some others that could step up. We got a few freshmen. We signed 22 freshmen overall, the majority of them on defense, but there's going to be some guys that, you might not hear their names. You never know out of that class. You think this guy's going to contribute immediately, and he doesn't. And then a sleeper pops up and ends up becoming a really good player for you. I think on the defensive side of the ball, everything starts up front. We've got good depth up there. You feel good about that group. And then the back seven is where the inexperience and the lack of depth raised its head last year. We've addressed it with signees in the offseason, but, those guys haven't played, so it'll be an inexperienced group. We'll see how fast they come to life and begin to play for it.
Coach, this is quite a family affair, the business of football for you. I'll get to your son in just a second, who I know very well. But your brother, Chris, who a lot of people know, your nephew is coaching for you now. Why is football such a massive part of the Scelfo family?
Well, my dad was a high school football coach at Abbeville and Crowley and Ville Platte. So growing up, we grew up in that environment, and it really was. I'm one of 8 kids, and 2 of us are football coaches, and then 2 of our kids are football coaches. So we got a couple of generations there going through that, doing it in this profession. I just think that it was something, from a competitive standpoint. Our family, we grew up competing in everything that we did. It was brutal every day, man. Whatever you were doing, you were competing. The girls, the sisters, the brothers, everything else. We competed in everything that we did, and we kind of ended up in this profession. And like you said, my son, it's my dad's profession, it's my profession, it's my son's profession, my brother and my nephew's profession. So all of us are doing it. All of us are in it. I don't think you do this as a job. I think you do this because that's who you are. I don't think people can last in this profession unless they've got a sense of toughness and probably the sense of, this is who I am and not what I do. And I feel like that's what it is with all of us.
You were, correct me if I'm wrong, you were on the staff when Anthony was quarterback at Tulane, correct?
Yeah. Yes, I was. For a couple of years after Katrina, Bob Toledo came in and he stayed there and we left, and I went up to Louisiana Tech. So
you have coached your son, and now you coach against your son. What's that like? I mean, last year was the first year that y'all got to face off with each other. You both ended up going from UTSA into the Southland Conference, and the thought process. He committed basically to Northwestern State to be a coach. Then you got the job at Southeastern later. I know there was some talk that maybe he would join you there, but he stayed at NSU. So give me some indication of what that's like, knowing that your son is in the conference fighting against you for recruits and championships and all of that.
Well, I know his competitive nature. That's the thing that I don't think I think he's underestimated. And when it comes to recruiting, I know he'll do everything that he can within the rules to get a guy, and we go head to head with him. But in this business, it's all professional. We obviously we love each other and respect each other and things like that, and so I'm happy for him every week when I watch them and they do well and they win and those things. And he loves Coach Laird and Natchitoches and Northwestern. He's having a great time up there doing what they're doing. But when we play him, I could care less about his feelings. I want to win the game, and if it hurts his feelings, so be it. And it's just the way that he feels the same way. Believe me, I'm not saying anything that he doesn't know because we talk about it all the time. It's going to be. I know it's going to be a heck of a game every time we play them. I know they're going to play well. They're going to be prepared. He's going to be motivated. But he's like that every week. He's grown up doing that. he's grown up competing his whole life, and he's taken it to the highest level of everywhere he's been. And, you know, my hat's off to him. He's a good football coach. I've coached with him, like you said, on the staff, and I've coached against him. And I know that his guys play well. His guys are well prepared, and he's going to do a good job against us this year. I just hope they don't win. I hope we win.
Yeah. I will say this, Coach. I'm mostly jealous of his hair.
Yeah, at least he's got some. He used it against me sometimes but I told him, I said, in time, remember, it's all hereditary.
Yeah.
So in time, that's going to fall out. Now, I hope you look like me one day, because I'm tired of you getting on to me about it.
That is beautiful. Coach, obviously, best of luck this season, except for 1 week out of the year. You know that. And we really appreciate your time, and we're certainly looking forward to seeing good things down in Hammond, America.
Absolutely. I appreciate y'all, man. Thank y'all so much for giving us some time on the radio station, and we'll see you up in Natherton.
All right. Frank Scelfo, good dude. Just a good dude. Frank Scelfo from Southeastern Louisiana. That's all.